Hey, welcome to the water bottle tutorial video. Here we go. So first trace the pattern pieces onto the interfacing. You might want to use pattern weights. I don't use pins because it warps the fabric and I want it to lay nice and flat. And sorry if you can't see my lines. It's an invisible ink marker. I probably should have used a Sharpie, but you at least get the idea. And if you need to zoom in or turn up your contrast or something, you might be able to see the lines. But I'm tracing them edge to edge to minimize waste of interfacing because it's expensive, but you can do it however you feel comfortable. And notice here we're actually only tracing the reinforcer pieces of the strap onto the interfacing, not the actual strap pieces, which are sitting off to the left. I did this to minimize bulk. For when you are actually folding and sewing the strap down, you will see at the end what I mean by that. If it's too thick, it might break your needle and make your life a little harder, and I'm all about making your life easier. So once you've traced everything, then you cut out the pieces in rough blocks, so you don't actually have to cut exactly on the lines, because we're gonna iron these down and then cut around them more precisely. But then I guess for the reinforcers, those are just strips, so I just cut those out. So now use an iron on the appropriate setting for your fabric. Press the lining interfacing blocks onto the fabric. If you are using something that requires a cooler iron temperature, you may find that your interfacing doesn't stick as well, so I always try to use cotton whenever I make this project. I give it a little bit of a iron on both sides to make sure it sticks, and then I cut out my official shapes. When you do the block style interfacing application, then you end up with a really exact match with your fabric and your interfacing, which is very nice. Then you repeat this with the outer fabric. So that was your lining. And then here is the outer fabric. And just in case I did not say this before, you want to iron your interfacing onto the back side of the fabric, not onto the pretty side. Alright, so now you have your lining pieces and your outer pieces, and now we are going to fold the fabric so you can cut out the strap. You might have to smooth it out briefly with the iron so it lays flat, and then you want to lay your strap piece right on the fold. Do not cut the folded edge. And then your strap loops, you're going to want to cut 2 of them, so trace it 2 times. Don't cut them out yet. There you go, folded strap, and then you want to unfold the fabric. You could have actually traced 1 and then just cut it out double, whatever is easier for you. Then you take your strap reinforcement pieces, which you had to cut separately if you don't have the kind of interfacing that folds, and make sure it's directly in the center with 1 inch on either side. Sorry about my hat getting in the way and the random blurring of the camera. Fold the strap in half and then fold the sides toward the center line. The final strap will be 1 inch. Now that you have a center line that you've marked, then you can fold the edges in and then fold it in half 1 more time. The written instructions have a side view so you can see a little more clearly if you're not quite sure what I'm doing. And then you repeat that exact same process with the side loops. They're just basically shorter. Now you have all your pieces and you're ready to start sewing. So mark your 3/8 inch seams. If you want a looser fit, mark your seam allowance at 1/4. On the lining pieces, don't mark all the way across the bottom. Leave a hole so you can turn it inside out or right sides out. But on the outer piece, you can actually stitch all the sides closed. You don't have to leave a hole. And do not sew the notches. Those are going to get stitched in a different way. So you're just sewing the straight things. So here I have you stitching your straps down and your side loops down so that they are finished and flat. So you'll get some nice top stitching about an eighth of an inch from the edge. And now you're going to sew along your drawn seam lines for your outer pieces, sewing them right sides together. And remember, do not sew the notches. You'll do those later. Now sew the lining pieces also right sides together, leaving the notches unsewn, and don't forget to leave the hole at the bottom. Remember, if you make your hole too small, it's going to be too hard to turn it, so make it as wide as you can, which means these little stitches are probably about an inch long. Now you're going to pinch the notches so the body takes on its 3D shape, and then sew those edges together at the same seam allowance that you did for your sides and bottom. I like to pin it so it doesn't shift when I'm under the foot. You can clip it too if you want, if you have clips. And I also like to fold my seam allowances down flat like shown, so that it runs under the foot nice and smooth and I'm not going over any unnecessary bulk. Turn the lining piece right sides out and keep the outer piece right sides in. And then put your fist inside the lining piece and push the lining piece into the outer piece, and then line up the seams. Make sure that they fit together exactly, so pin it first to check. If one piece is a little bigger than the other and it looks kind of wavy, take the inner piece out and adjust the seam allowances and reinsert it until it fits exactly. Then you won't have any buckles or pinches or wrinkles when you actually sew it together. And set that aside because you're going to prepare the straps and the loops. So first loop the side loops into the D loops. It's a lot of loops, but get what I mean by the picture. And pin them into place. And then for your strap, you want to put the buckle on first by first looping the end through the middle bar, and then stitch that down. If you need to neaten up the edge a little bit to make your life easier, make it look better, that's always nice. And then stitch it as close as you can so that the strap buckle slides really smoothly. If your stitch is too far away from the center bar of the buckle, it will catch and it won't slide smooth. Then you loop it through the top and then attach the swivel clip. Now you have your adjustable strap. And you're going to want to also stitch your side loops down. And you can take your pin out. And then you also want to stitch as close as possible to the bar, because that will help it not shift around when you use it. Keep it nice and flat. Now you're ready to insert the loops upside down at the side seams. So center them on your side seams and then press your seam allowances flat on both sides. Now you put it under your machine and stitch around the top. Remember to go a little slowly at this step because there's a lot of bulk there, especially at the tabs, and you don't want to break a needle. Now you can take your pins out and pull the pieces away, forming a big long tube, and then you flip that entire tube right sides out. Might take a little bit of effort since it's a lot of fabric going through a fairly small hole, but it's normal, it will work. And then you push the lining inside and there you have it. But you're not quite done, you have to close the hole in the lining. So you'll just tuck the seam allowances inside, trim off the little errant threads there hanging, and then do a straight stitch or a zigzag right off of the edge, like about 1/8 inch from the edge. And that should hold it all in. And attach the strap and you are done. Thanks for watching my tutorial. I hope your water bottle holder came out awesome. If you are just watching this video on YouTube and you don't have the pattern yet, you can go to my Etsy shop at sew2growpatterns.etsy.com and you can get that pattern and some of my other ones. Have a great one.